My name is Jake, and this is my friend Kyle, and we are here at Reddit, LinkedIn, and YouTube to talk a little bit about business and entrepreneurship. We realize that there's a ton of subreddits over there, such as Startup Ride Along, Entrepreneur, FinTech, and many more, where people are interested in discussing business and startups, and we're interested to have that conversation with you. We hope you join the conversation with us. And Kyle, do you want to introduce yourself, and how's everything
Yeah.
going today?
Hey, good day, everyone. My name is Kyle. I work as a franchise broker in Austin, Texas. I'm currently in Galveston on vacation, but still doing the live stream. Loving it here, and we look forward to talking about business topics. And today's Jake is what makes a good salesperson. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, I wanted to find out a little bit more about your vacation first, but I wanted to talk a little bit about sales and what makes a good salesperson. And I'll get into some of the reasons why in just a moment. But so normally you're contacting us from your we do the live stream from your office, also down in Texas. But you look very
Yes.
relaxed today, sir. You look like you're having a great time.
Yeah, I'm having a great time. I'm loving seeing all my family members. We got like 10 of us here. So it's really nice. We're staying in this old 1913 uh, era Victorian. Well, it's kind of a mansion actually. It's right in downtown Galveston, Texas, and the weather's nice. It's easily 15 degrees cooler than it is at home. I think it's supposed to be 90 today. It's 105 back in Austin. I'm happy to be away from that for a little bit. So
Well,
yeah,
it's a beautiful home you've got behind you, and it hits on an important topic that maybe we'll discuss another day, which is the importance of having a good work-life balance. Something that
absolutely.
you, sir, are a pro at, and I'm always very impressed. You're doing a good job with that. Did you get to do any motorcycle riding this week? Did you bring the bike, or is that has that stayed home today?
That stayed at home. This week, yesterday we arrived here, and I was bringing my mom, my son, and my brother, so we took a car, and it's just a short trip. We'll be leaving on Thursday, so um, it's just a short little trip through the country. Yeah.
Pretty cool. Well, one thing I've noticed is that in the Reddit sphere, it's that time of year where a ton of people are graduating. And interestingly, I hear through my industry all the time how hard it is to get good salespeople. But there have been a number of people that have reached out to me looking to learn about fintech, looking to learn about sales, and looking to get their foot in the door with fintech sales. And some of these are young guys with some experience, some of them are young guys with no experience. And I wanted to ask you and get your take on, one, what makes a good salesperson? And two, how do you get, salespeople up and running and started? What's your thoughts?
That's a really good question. I think it's a question for the ages. I have some thoughts on it. I think that obviously from a personality standpoint, somebody who's got a good bedside manner, exhibits some emotional intelligence, good listener. Two ears, one mouth. That means you should be listening more than talking, right? Ultimately, I think a good salesperson asks more questions than they provide answers. People like to be heard. It's just a fundamental thing, right? And all of
Well, people
business
like
is
it.
just solving a
People like to be
problem for.
listened to. I think that's very good advice, and I remember getting that in a sales training when they said, two ears, one mouth, and it's actually, great real world advice. If you're on a sales call and you speak for 45 minutes and they speak for 15, that's rarely a good sales call, and it's going to be hard to fundamentally understand their needs and appropriately sell them.
Yeah,
Um, so
yeah,
the other big mantra, and I know there's a lot of cliches in our industry, but some of them kind of ring true and are important. But that kind of selling, not telling, right? To be able to sell
yes,
to someone and not just tell them a bunch of stuff about a product, you have to be able to listen to them and understand who they are and what their needs are.
yeah. And I think maybe it's helpful to understand like the context from which I'm coming from with regards to the whole sales discussion. I've never considered myself a salesperson. I've never been formally trained in it. An
Really, because isn't
engineer
that
by
your kind of
profession.
day-to-day thing? Is you're helping people? I mean, you're helping people as a consultant get up and running on franchises. But I always personally considered you a salesperson and a good one at that. But you don't
Oh,
consider yourself a
well,
salesperson?
not at all. Not at all.
Interesting.
Um, as it turns out, that's probably just my own self perception. I've never
Yeah.
been a good, I might be good at it. And what I've realized is that good salespeople cannot rely on that personality alone, right? That being organized and having a process around operating a sales funnel is just as important as anything that you might bring to the table with regards to character, you know. And so that was the way that I've been able to approach it, is understanding that, oh, there is a process for sales, just like there is a process for software engineering, you know, which is where I was formerly trained. And getting to know that and understand that went a long way for me, and I think probably for a lot of other people too.
Because we're an early stage fintech company, and there's young people reaching out, they want to get fintech experience. I feel like I have a lot to offer them, right? You know, I've been doing sales for 15 years. I can teach them a lot about sales tactics. I
Yeah.
know a lot about fintech. So if someone's interested to learn and get some fintech experience on their profile, I can help them with those things. And as a fintech company, we're trying to make finance easy and embedded for people, to embed products in their website for free, so they can better, you know, sell the equipment that they sell. But ultimately, only a salesperson can kind of pick up the phone and go meet people. They've got to kind of take action.
Yeah, you're right. And that's one of the things that I've struggled with too, is just smile and dial sometimes is what you got to do. And if that's not your jam, you're probably going to have a bad time. So, you know,
But
and
I think
rejection,
some of the, I
not
think,
take it personally.
I think some of the young people idealize that they'll get into sales and make a lot of money, and then, you know, there's this moment where like, I've got to call how many people? Like, you know, if you make 3 calls a day, you could get lucky, but it's probably not going to be as likely that you get lucky if you make 40 calls a day.
Yeah, you're right. You know, and it is a numbers game. It's operating that funnel, right? Going from, you know, leads to qualified to educated to close. You know, you gotta kiss a lot of frogs to find your prince, so to speak. And that can be emotionally draining, especially if you take rejection personally, or if you feel like you're wasting time on people that are never going to go anywhere. You know, you just have to understand that that is part of the process, and it's not about you. It's just it's an operation. You know.
I've met some people that think sales is an art and that only certain people can do it. And I personally have never subscribed to that, because I see myself a lot like you. I didn't see myself as a natural salesperson. I had to learn it over time, and I also had to put in a lot of hard work. And I kind of think at the same time, I think some people just aren't cut out for sales at all. Like if you're not good with people and can't have some basic rapport, sales is going to be very difficult for you. But
Yeah.
I always saw sales as, I mean, if you are decent with people and understand a product and are willing to work hard, I, I think almost anyone should be able to go out and do sales and produce something.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a lot of hard work. You know, I think that I was thinking about this the other day, that one of the challenges for me personally is finding the right amount of intellectual stimulation to keep me interested in the process. You know, that's one of the harder parts of sales for me, is like, you need it to be intellectually interesting. It's probably why I'm doing what I do now, which is actually pretty difficult type of sales work in a way. You know, actually getting people to get into businesses is hard, and it keeps me engaged. And if I don't do well at it, I'm going to starve, right? You know, that's kind of the issue.
Is there
Uh,
an element of selling to what you do, as far as being more than being in the right place and presenting people with good opportunities? Do you have to kind of sell that, you know, something's a good fit to them?
Absolutely, absolutely, there is. I have to come with a you know, a deep base of knowledge. I think that one of the compelling reasons that anyone would work with me is that they do not know what they don't know, and they don't know how to do. They don't know how to get into business, but they know they want it, right? And that's really what I look for. Is I look for people that they want to run a business, they just don't know how to get there, right? And I have that solution. And as long as I can solve that compelling need, it works, right? But I have to bring a lot of things to the table in terms of education and knowledge that I can pass on to them, so that they become the experts at what they want to do.
So there's a lot of young people out there looking for work at the moment and trying to break into the industry. And then at the same time, you have an industry that is struggling to find salespeople. And in my industry, you know, I think we lack a lot of younger people. It's kind of an aging industry, and people are getting
Hmm.
older. They're still doing things the old way. So I'm really intrigued by this idea of getting some young blood into our industry and a few people that are willing to work hard. And in exchange, there's an opportunity to have a career that, if you're good at, could bring you six figures. And I don't know how much opportunity there is out there for young people these days just out of college.
You know, I had some thoughts about this. It seems like that um, the attraction, the industry attraction, is a lot towards high tech, and I would have thought that fintech sort of is lumped into that category. Um, are you finding that's not the case? Is it different?
I think there's a lot of people attracted to fintech, but I think it is more niche. Not everyone's attracted to fintech. People do want to sell an exciting product, and fintech is a particular interest to people that typically already have some sales acumen, because there's a number of kind of SaaS sales roles out there where people can make multiple six figures. But
Yeah.
I think those jobs are out there, and I see people post about them on Reddit and discuss regularly the money that they're making in SaaS. But I think those roles are fewer and far between, and the question becomes, how do you break into that? If you don't have the experience, they're not going to give you a shot. So how do you get the SaaS experience that you can then go after in industry that potentially is quite lucrative?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I ran a SaaS company for a while, and I've worked for other SaaS companies, and you know, quite frankly, I stumbled backward into the sales role in SaaS because that's often what a CEO does, right? Just by creating the
You can't
product
you
and
can't you
then
can't be a CEO without selling, right? Like if that's not something you do at all, you either need a good friend who's really good at sales, or you need to go do something different. But typically a
yeah,
CEO has got to be on board with the sales.
yeah, you're right. That was a big lesson for me was there was no way I was going to run this company unless I got my hands off the keyboard with the tech and started, actually looking for customers because that's what it takes, you know. But in another way, in a larger company, not everybody's got the gumption to actually start their own SaaS. It's a little difficult. But I think, addressing your original question, there are other things that you can do. I think you can start off if you have no tech experience or are not technically minded, but you want to get into account executive type of position. You can start off as project manager or account manager or project coordinator type of roles. Those are more lower level. I think there's more opportunity there. And all of those give you some exposure to what the account executives are doing, um, so that you can sort of learn on the job. And in particular, the account management roles, what I found is they're running a three-legged race with account executives. When it comes to renewing SaaS contracts and things like that, you've got to be working very closely together.
Yeah.
And so, if somebody wanted to get into an AE role eventually, an AM role is a great stepping stone.
I think there's a ton of advantage to being able to work from home, which is a little bit of a, I don't know, is that a controversial issue? It's a little controversial issue in our day and age, right? Like some
I don't
big
think so.
companies are trying to put pressure on people to come back to the office. But I think working from home is a huge advantage, especially for salespeople. I mean, basically from your office today, you can Zoom with anyone anywhere, even people that are on vacation. You can
Yeah.
have a good discussion with them. You can share screens and show them things. The downside that I was noticing last night as I was kind of counseling this young guy and telling him a bit about fintech and about the business was that one of the best learning experiences from sales is being in a room with a bunch of other salespeople.
Yeah.
Being
There's so
able
much that
to
you can pick up.
hear the vibe and hear other people's approaches and hear in real time what's working for people and what's not.
Yeah. Yeah, that you're right. That has helped me a lot when I was learning the AE role. First of all, was just learning how they are differently compensated than, say, an account manager, and how that compensation package affects their behavior, right? And just being aware of that and how that can be beneficial or detract from closing a deal. And so a lot of times, I'd look at that, and when we had a customer that an account manager or account executive wanted to re-up, and I was working as an enterprise AM at the time, I would say I'd pull them aside and say, hey, let's do the good cop, bad cop thing, right? Let's work this so that they feel like they're winning, because they are, but we don't want it to be this, bald faced grab for your commission, right? And so, there's a lot of a nuance, I think, psychological nuance to sales, to make sure that, because some people are just some clients are inherently mistrustful of people that are just commission grabs, and you gotta kind of pull that back a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that touches on another point with salespeople, right? They are typically money motivated
Yeah.
and looking to be successful. And I saw a Reddit post yesterday about Jordan Belfort's sales training. You ever heard of it?
No, I haven't. What's it
Jordan
about?
Belfort, when he went through a period where he wasn't able to work in finance anymore, right? He tried to reinvent himself, almost like a Tony Robbins kind of personality.
Okay.
I actually went to see him when I was over in London. He was putting on an event, and I just went for the free part. I didn't pay to go back, but I was interested. It was before the movie came out, and after I'd read the book, and I was interested to have an opportunity to see what he was like in person, and to have a chance to meet him. But he tries to sell something called the straight line of sales, and there's so many people out there trying to hawk some kind of like they have the secret recipe to some kind of great sales ability. And there's always some lessons in there to be learned. There's always a lot of sales cliches, but there's very few books or mentoring sessions I've seen that really had a lot of depth.
I wonder why that is.
I think there's a lot of hype to it. The one book that I really took to heart that really I thought helped me a lot was Zig Ziglar.
Ah, yes.
You ever read any of his books?
I have not, but I've heard of him. I've seen him in the airplane magazines quite a bit.
His book really made an impression on me, and he really had a lot of advice when I was a younger in my career as sales that I identified with, that really helped. Kind of saying things like you can only sell if you really believe in your product. If you don't believe in the product, it's very hard to come across to people as genuine. And his was one of the few books that I read that I thought really added value. All these other things are like trying to sell you into paying money to get to the good stuff. They're like, we know the best way to do sales, but you got to pay us this to do it. And I think when you get behind the curtain, I've rarely seen like a lot of substantial stuff that can really help you to sell more stuff.
I, at the risk, I don't want to plug anything in particular. I just wanted to state factually what has helped me a lot was the Sandler sales method.
Yeah. And I've heard the name a lot, but I haven't read that.
I was formally trained in that. I use that as a basis for, really giving myself, I like frameworks, right? I like a process. I don't like to go in willy-nilly on things. And Sandler gave me a framework for understanding people, right? And understanding their basic motivations. And I spent, probably, I don't know, every week for a year doing a Sandler training course. And it was really helpful. It's one of those things that if you just kind of submit to the way on that a little bit, and get over your own self, it is amazing the types of things that it can do, not only in your business life, but in your personal life as well. It changed.
I'm gonna have to check it out. I will check out the Sandler sales method. Is there one book or one
I don't think there's a book.
There's a book?
No, but there's people who teach the Sandler method, and it's a franchise. Believe it or not, Sandler is a franchise, and there are people that own businesses locally that are sales consultants, probably in your market, and and they, they're qualified to teach that method. So I've retained them.
When you're working with people in the franchise space, have you, and you've hired in the past, but like, what are some of the things that you've identified in people that you thought was a good characteristic of someone that would be good at sales, or someone you wanted to hire, or someone you worked with to train?
Somebody that felt authentic, and was able to listen, was not trying to sell solely on features and benefits, um, that understood that playing a long game, could be strategic about it. Playing a long game is sometimes more beneficial for everyone involved. And ultimately, somebody who understands that if you can make the pie bigger for everyone, that's going to work well, right?
I think those are all
understands
good
pain.
attributes. I would agree with all of that. I think that's a really good assessment, actually. I think what I'm finding at the moment, both with people in tech and with sales at the moment, is I look for people who will actually take action. There's a lot of people who kind of say one thing, like say they're interested or say they'd like to do something, but then you don't hear back. Or someone in tech that says, "Oh, we can build that," but then they kind of don't get back to you. And the people that follow up with you or send you an email or take a little bit of time to offer you something, right? Like they put something together, they try to build something, they come back to you with a question about a contact because they've actually tried to call people. I think I look for people who follow on and there's some activity there without you having to be on top of them and manage them, because there's nothing worse than like having to manage people to do something that they said they wanted to do.
Yeah, you're right. And that proactivity, that results in a prospect feeling like they're being paid attention to and listened to. Those are really good traits. And it's kind of the dark side of sales in a way, is that there is a lot of, some might consider to be mundane work of just smiling and dialing and, maintaining your CRM system, and all of those things are because you're managing a sales funnel, right? Ultimately. And, you've got to be dealing with multiple people at any given time if you're going to do well, unless it's an enormous deal. But, so having those organizational skills and not needing to be told what to do every day, just getting up and doing it. So I think you mentioned that earlier, the initiative taking is
people that take initiative, but people that want to do the work. I think there's a number of people out there that, like, particularly in sales, I don't understand that. Like, why say you want to do something you're interested in and then not go take action? It doesn't really make sense to me. Like, you can tell the difference. You can't always tell the difference in the first phone call, but you can tell the difference after the phone call, whether someone's following up with you, reaching out to you, coming to you with questions. And when I don't see that, it's hard to, like, you only get in as much as you only get out as much as you put in. And so if someone's not putting in something to me, why should I put more time into trying to help them or train them if they're not really taking action? But more than that, I just get confused about why say you want to do something if you don't want to follow through.
Maybe they're buying into one of the great tragedies of our modern time, is the concept of wealth without work.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk about the generation currently not wanting to work. And I don't really prescribe to that. I think they're just used to a different lifestyle.
Yeah, I think that there can be joy in work. Yeah. You got to find it. Otherwise, you're just going to be miserable.
And that's why I think more and more people should be entrepreneurs. And so in our company, because we are a startup, because we're an early stage fintech company, a lot of the jobs are basically entrepreneurial. I mean, I can give you the tools. I can help you generate leads. I can tell you all that you need to do to get interest in a product and close deals. But ultimately, you've got to get on the phone. And I think what I found when I was younger in my sales career was, even if you were a room full of 30 or 40 people, it was basically sales is a single player sport. I mean, you can hear from other people, you can get support from a back office, but it's you on the phones or going out to meet people. It's you that closes the deals. And not only do you have to have the ability to do that, but it's almost, even when you're in a big company, it's almost like an entrepreneurial position. Like, what can you make of it? Who can you collaborate with in the office? Like, what can you build that sales position into? And I think that's one of the fascinating things about sales and the opportunity.
Yeah, it is kind of an individual contributor. So there's a lot that has to come from that wellspring within. And I think, well, you kind of nailed it. The initiative really, I think, is a fundamental thing.
Some people prescribe to sales being an art. And I think on the higher levels and more advanced products, or more complicated products with a real sales cycle, that may be true. But for me to get into sales, I just think if you work hard, and contact enough people, and you're a decent person and you want to help people, you
Yeah.
should be able to at
Stay
least get
organized.
traction and get a start, you know?
Yeah.
Organization,
Don't
that's a
let the
great.
no, don't let the no get you down.
I actually, what I tell myself is to go to the no, because there's people that say that like can't, right? I can't use you. Head office tells me to use, or I can't use you because we don't do this kind of product. But a lot of
Yeah.
times I find that people say, no, I'm busy, or no, no, we've got someone. Those are the people that if you push them and say, well, why is that? Uh, they're often your real customers. So I always tell myself, go to the no. That's what I used to tell myself. Like, go to the no. The people saying no are actually the people that you need to sell and get through. And the people saying can't or won't or don't have a more legitimate reason why they can't connect with you for some reason.
Yeah. That's related to that. If you're interested in understanding how the Sandler method approaches that topic you were just describing, I think that the pain funnel is a good thing to look up on your own.
I've heard of that before. Can you give us a high level on that?
Well, when somebody says no, and there's a line of questioning that you can use to find out why. And the line of questioning ultimately is to help somebody understand and acknowledge and feel the pain of the problem that they have. Let them arrive at their own conclusion. And if they say no, it's like, well, so I guess that's not a problem for you then. And they've got other problems, right? Well, what are those problems? I'm not going to get into it, but the pain funnel is actually a framework for helping people to recognize their own pain. And you're
Yeah.
just a catalyst as a salesperson. You're not selling them on any features and benefits. It does not matter. Nobody buys on that. Unless it's like a transactional thing, like a piece of gum. What people really buy on is the solution to their pain. I think that understanding that and having a framework around that can go a long way towards having a successful career in sales.
People buy a solution to their pain. That I think is some of the best sales advice you could possibly give to someone, particularly a young person.
I'm just pulling from the book of Sandler. That's what I learned, and I have yet to see it refuted. It was good advice for me.
Well, sir, we are getting up to the top of the half hour, and I realize that you are sharing your time with us from vacation from lovely Galveston, which is now on my list of places to visit before I.
Yes, Galveston is a delightful place.
Galveston looks absolutely amazing, and it looks like you are just nailing a wonderful day over there as well.
Yep. It's a wonderful place. So thanks.
Well,
I know that we're at the top of our time. Is there anything that you wanted to wrap up with?
no, I enjoyed speaking a little bit about sales and salespeople. I'm eager to find more young people that are out there trying to break into sales to see if we can bring some value to them and have kind of a mutually beneficial support for each other. And
You know,
go on.
there's, I guess, the thing that I'd like to wrap with too is that for those who want to run their own business and they self-qualify as good salespeople, have all the right stuff, there are excellent businesses that are very low investment. If you're willing to work full-time as the CEO/sales role, there are good franchises out there to do that. So hit me up if you're interested.
I think there's a lot of opportunity out there. Kyle, it's great speaking with you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your vacation, and I am going to sign off Reddit.
All right. Have a good one. Good to see you.